Okay, wow. First, to everyone going through these fires, especially in Southern Oregon, I mean, really, wherever you are on the West Coast or in the western part of the United States, I am so sorry you're having to go through this. Personal friend of mine, really close friend of mine, his fiance, her mom actually lost her house in these fires in Medford, or a town outside of Southern Oregon near Medford. So look below. I have her profile, and you can find her GoFundMe there. Well, today Jupiter went direct, which normally in astrology is an exciting, happy moment because it's the planet of abundance, joy, prosperity, ease, expansion, growth, wisdom, turning back online. Where in retrograde, it's a very unnatural place for Jupiter to, like a very unnatural planet to be retrograde. Not quite as unnatural as Mars, which is a whole other video that I just don't have the heart for today, but we will get into that. But Jupiter, requires, when it's direct, or when it's retrograde, requires us to sketch out our blueprint of our future and of how we'd like to expand in this world, especially in Capricorn, where it's in its fall position. It's exalted in Cancer, and so in its fall position in Capricorn, it may not produce the Jupiter results you're used to. And not every Jupiter transit is the same. Jupiter in Sag, I think last year, as much as people thought it was going to be like a supercharged Santa Claus, I think it was more of a teacher year, mentorship, I think there were things to be had, and expansion was kind of at the forefront, but at the same time it was like really preparing our belief system and really helping us understand what philosophies will help us move forward. And I think here in Capricorn with Jupiter, it has to be useful. Anything in Capricorn is going to be put to use. And so how we move forward, from this moment on is gonna have to fit in the confines of reality. Like Jupiter in Capricorn, the reason it's somewhat like weakened or debilitated in its fall position is because it is in this like container, and it can't just make things happen. The sky is not the limit. There is a limit in Capricorn. There is restriction, there's rules, and there is like steps to advancing. And so Jupiter in Capricorn has a very functional component. And if you can tap into the usefulness, if you can take the ideas you've had, like think of it more like schematics or blueprint, the ideas that you've had for the past 4 months, and now understand that those can be, actually 6 months, somewhat implemented. You can start to see a framework, but using the Capricorn framework, which is methodical and step-by-step and abiding by the reality that is and the rules. If you can use your current reality, you can start to build and expand. And it's gonna, Jupiter is finishing out, I think it's at 17 degrees, so it's gonna be finishing out, going back to 27 degrees where it's stationed retrograde, and it's going to be finishing out its Capricorn run. And so you'll see, I think, a lot of things. I think Jupiter is more of a shield than like something that's expanding us a lot right now. It's kind of protecting, but I think you're gonna see a methodical build towards things that further us, but are related and based in this reality. With the Sun having trined Jupiter when it was still retrograde, I do think it showed where there is opportunity amongst the challenges and where there will be ways to grow amongst all the difficulties. And Jupiter will go over Pluto again. Last time it did that, it was right around the time of the stimulus bill. Perhaps, especially Pluto having to do with money coming from outside sources like the government, that could be an effect. Nothing in astrology ever happens in a vacuum. Like, it's not just these singular episodic events of like, oh, Mars square Saturn, but there's all these other things going on. I think this year, with so many planets in the most visible, highest sign in the zodiacal wheel, Capricorn, I think it's impossible to escape this long narrative that we are in of everything collapsing and our world not sustaining or being able to sustain us, and all of the extreme problems we are having with leadership and with the structures that we depend on. It's just culminating. So this is, to me, the bumpiest time of the year, even though March was gnarly and then July had its moments. You know, I really feel like the next 2 months kind of blur together, and it becomes a lot about your individual willpower and also individual vision. I think Jupiter direct personally on an individual level will give you a vision of how you're going to continue, how you're going to not just continue, but how are you going to build in this future that seems very uncertain and seems that it will probably not resemble the world you were planning on building in prior to all this. So, it's a lot. Be kind to yourselves, especially with Mars retrograde in Aries. Jesus, please be kind to yourself. Fuck. We'll get into that, but I do want to say, like, just be kind to each other, be kind to yourselves. This is really, until December, in my opinion, it's just rocky waters. So we'll get through this. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. All right, I'll talk to you later.